Hello, my name is Jared Ludlow, Publications Director at the BYU Religious Studies Center, your weekly resource for gospel scholarship. Today I'm joined by Allie Stevens,
Hello.
one of our editing interns, and we'll be talking about some possible resources that can accompany your Come Follow Me reading for January 29th through February 4th, 1 Nephi 16 through 22. The first article is called the Liahona Triad. It's by Elder Robert E. Wells, former General Authority 70. It comes from a volume that the Religious Studies Center published called A Book of Mormon Treasury, Gospel Insights from General Authorities and Religious Educators. And a few bullet points from his article is the term Liahona Triad talks about three closely associated items or concepts, in this case related to the Liahona. And he starts off talking about a dream that he had, similar to how the Liahona functioned. The ability to take advantage of the power attracting people to Jesus Christ, he says from this dream, which is the desirable goal, depends entirely upon each person's faith, diligence, and heed. Now, in the course of his article, he talked about a term bellomancy, which is the practice of divination or fortune-telling by either shooting, tossing, shaking, or otherwise manipulating rods, darts, pointers, or other sticks, all originally derived from arrows, and so he liken that a little bit to the Liahona, how the spindles worked and so forth. But a lot of the article focuses on these terms faith, diligence, and heed. Allie, anything stand out to you from this?
Yeah, I really appreciate that Wells gives us three actionable things that we can study and learn about and work on. I look forward to studying more about faith, diligence, and heed in the scriptures and in modern day scriptures and being guided by my own personal Liahona, which is the Spirit.
Great. Part of his conclusion, he says the Liahona Triad of faith, diligence, and heed, pulling us to Christ, with each point illustrated throughout the Book of Mormon, plus the concept of a new writing every time we reread the Book of Mormon, has been of immeasurable help in his life, and it can be in ours as well. The second article is called For Our Profit and Learning, One Method for Likening the Scriptures. It's by Charles Swift, a retired faculty member here at BYU in the Ancient Scripture Department, and comes from a religious educator article. In this, he starts talking about feasting and searching in the Scriptures, and he says we are to search the Scriptures for the meaning they can have in our lives. In other words, we search for ways to apply the Scriptures in our lives. However, just applying them is not enough. We need to keep in mind that there is a particular purpose for the application, for our profit and learning. So he talks a little bit about that, and then he talks about a threefold approach that he uses in his study and teaching that he's found worthwhile. Know, identify, and apply. He says you can use the abbreviation KIA like the car to remember that. Know, identify, and apply. And the key part of all this is to identify principles. And he talks about how principles are concentrated truth, and a principle is more than just a topic. So, Allie, anything you learned?
I really appreciate the focus on feasting. I went to my doctor's and she told me to help my digestion, I needed to chew slower. I needed to eat my food a little more slowly, savor everything, eat while sitting down. And so I think that can be applied to our scripture study as well. This idea of feasting, if we take the time to really digest what we're reading, we can start to absorb what we're learning a little bit better.
Good. So savoring it a little bit more along the way. And here's part of his conclusion. I realize there are many ways to liken the Scriptures to ourselves. This is just one way, and it can be helpful to many of us because of its simplicity. The important thing, however, is not the method, but rather the practice of searching the Scriptures and likening them to ourselves. Know, identify, apply can open up a common ground on which we can explore the Scriptures together in our classrooms and in our families, growing in our understanding of those sacred texts. The third article is called That Ye May Have Hope, Nephi's use of Isaiah 49:22 through 23 in teaching the concept of hope. And it's by Matthew Bowen, a religion faculty member at BYU Hawaii, and comes from a religious educator article. And one point he makes is he quotes Nephi talking about hearing the words of the prophet which was written unto all the house of Israel, and likening it to themselves, that you may have hope as well as your brethren from whom ye have been broken off. And it's that hope that then he focuses a lot on, the meaning of hope in the Hebrew Bible and specifically in the book of Isaiah. And another point he makes is that helping students understand that hope in a scriptural context is far more than idle or abstract optimism about the future, but entails actively waiting on the Lord and expecting the fulfillment of divine covenant promises, can motivate them in their learning, doing, and becoming. So what stood out to you from this?
Well, I love Isaiah, and something that I struggle with a lot is hope, especially with the idea that it's something that I can take action on. So I appreciate Nephi teaching more about hope, and I love the deep dive Bowen takes into exploring just what it means. I think it's cool to see it applied to Isaiah's people, Nephi's people, and then Bowen talks about how it's applied to us. So seeing how hope, what it means to different people and how it's taught to different people is very interesting for us.
Great. Here's part of his conclusion. Nephi's statement of purpose in reading Isaiah 48 through 49 to the members of his family and quoting them this text for future readers, namely that you may have hope, has direct reference to Isaiah's prophetic promise that they shall not be ashamed who wait for me. Recognizing that Nephi and Isaiah express the same concept and that it is deeply rooted in the Abrahamic covenant helps us better understand how ancient Israelites, including Nephi, Jacob, and their successors, understood the concept of hope. And hopefully, like you mentioned, we can draw upon this concept and principle of hope in our own lives.